This database table records the cost of advertising in some publications. We need to produce a report listing the information from just the daily papers. We want to group this by the area, north and south. First, we need to produce the query, and this has already been done. We'll use this query to produce the report. So first we need to go to the Create tab and then find the report wizard. We then need to find our query in the list here, and there's our query. These are the fields that are available in the query. We need the area in our report, we need the name. In fact, we need all of these. So there they are, and we move on to the next step. We would like to group the information so we have all the northern papers together and all the southern papers together. In other words, we want to group them by area. So let us select the area here. Now, within each group, we would like the names to be listed alphabetically. So we'll move on to do this. Selecting the name field will give us what we want. Now moving on. Now we're allowed to choose the sort of layout that we want. The stepped layout has the headings only at the top of the report, and the block is very similar to that. To me, the outline layout is by far the clearest, so we're going to choose that. I'm also going to leave the orientation as portrait. We don't have too many columns, so let's move on. On the screen you can choose a layout. You can try out a few of these. I'm going to go for flow, and I'm going to give my report a sensible name. And as soon as I click on finish, it's going to open the report in a preview mode so we can see how well the wizard has done. And there it is. So the report is now showing in print preview mode. Here we have the heading of the report with the title. Here we have a grouping section for the north, a little grouping section for the south, including column headings here. And then here we've got the actual query rows themselves for both groups. We need to make some refinements. To do this, we need to get into design mode. There are a number of ways of doing this, but I tend to click on the top of the window heading here, right click it, and then I select design. It looks complicated, but it does make sense. At the top we have the report header. Whatever goes in here appears at the head of the report. Then we have the grouping header section for the areas. Whatever goes in here appears at the top of each grouping. There'll be one for the north and one for the south. And in this grouping section you can see the headings for each of the columns. Then the details section says how each line of the group is formatted. At the bottom is the page footer, and the wizard has put in two text boxes. On the left hand side there's a text box with a command that shows today's date, and then on the other side another text box which shows the page numbers. There are two sorts of boxes on this report. There are labels and there are text boxes. Labels just hold text, such as this title here, Daily Papers. The text boxes hold actual information from the query fields. Now very often you want to edit the labels, but you would rarely want to edit the text boxes. It's usually obvious which is a text box and which is a label, but if you want to make sure, then you can double click on the box and then have a look at the properties, and here it tells me this is a text box. If I look at this box next to it and double click on that, it tells me that it's a label. These are the column heading labels here, and underneath we have the text boxes that are used for displaying the actual field data for each row. Right, now let's edit the title so it's more informative. So click into that label there, do a bit of editing, a bit of copy and pasting, and now we're going to look at the report view to see the effect. So you right click on the window heading and select report. The area data here, N, is far too far from its label. So let's improve that and move the data closer to the label. Right click and go back to design view. You can see what the problem is. we've got the area data here, and then we've got the label here. What we could do is we could make the area label smaller, and you can see it's dragged it much closer. Actually, we don't need the area data text box to be that big either, so we can make that smaller. Now let's have a look at the effect of that by going back to the report view. The column headings could be a bit more user-friendly. The wizard just uses the field names, so we could edit those. And there's another problem. The names seem to be a bit cut off, so lots of branding points for the wizard there. We need to go to the design view to correct this. So let's do the headings first of all. And then we'll go cost of A5, cost of A4. Right, and you can see what the problem is with the name. The box is far too small. The easiest way to fix this is to just widen it a little bit. Now we can go back and to the report view and see what the effect is. Actually, the name here seems a bit unnecessary, so back to design view. What I'd like to do is select name and then press delete. But when I do that, I not only lose the label, but I also lose the text box as well. That's because they're connected. So I'm just going to undo that and put it back again. In fact, all of these text boxes and labels here are all connected together. If I try to move one of them to put it into a new place, perhaps to rearrange the orders, I'm not allowed to do that. To get over that, what you have to do is unconnect them. You first of all select them. You then go to the Arrange tab, find Remove, click on that. They now are disconnected. If I click away and then select Name, press Delete, it's disappeared. So let's see that in report view. Now I'd like to rearrange the order of the fields slightly. I'd prefer circulation to be just after the name. So back to design. I'm going to select circulation, both the text box and the label, by highlighting them and then using the arrow keys to move them to one side. It's easier to use the arrow keys than actually using the mouse. I'm then going to highlight those and I'm going to move those to one side as well. Should leave enough room for circulation. Highlight that, bring it back again. There we go. And now let's have a look at that in report view. There we go, done. I'd be happy to save the report at this stage, but there are some other basic features that I could mention. Just going back to design view. I can change the heights of these various sections. I could make the footer a little deeper, move these two text boxes down. I could increase the height of the detail section. That would leave more space between each line. I could increase the size of the header section there so I can put more things inside. We could move the date text box into the header area from the footer. Let's make it a little smaller. Move it into place. Emphasize it a bit more by using the tools, perhaps a bit of bold, make it perhaps 14 point. Right. We could also add our own labels in here if we wanted to put some more information. So click on label, drag ourselves a little box out, and then put in the latest prices. Just a bit more information. Could perhaps make that a little bit larger. 9 point goes up to 10 point. Perhaps make it red. That's enough. Have a look at the effect of these changes now. And there we are.